I don't deal in porn for the sake of porn. I deal in porn for the sake of the money.
Some magazines came out, but I don't remember seeing them specifically. But you knew there was something called Weekend Sex.
Those old worn-out black and white films there. In some of them you could hardly see what was up and what was down or what was in the middle of it all.
It was a batch of 340,000 books that I bought a couple of years ago. And these are books that were seized by the police in the old days before porn was legalized. And you can see that in some of the books here. This one called Secret Debaucheries. You can see that in many places in the books there are black lines. And it's the police who have crossed it out. And that was what was obscene, which we Danes weren't allowed to read back then, right?
The 60s were the decade of liberation, and it was the decade when porn made Denmark world famous. The pornographic appetite was insatiable, and the amount of naughty pictures, magazines and films knew no bounds.
Are there any new ones? Yes.
These are the latest ones that are currently available.
Yeah, I'll take those 3.
Thank you, that'll be 30 kroner. Thanks, you're welcome.
It's the police search warrant.
The politicians and the police tried to stop the illegal porn, but it was a hopeless battle. Here is the story of porn's pioneers.
Some magazines came out, but I don't remember seeing them specifically. But you knew there was something called Weekend Sex. And then I'd gotten a boyfriend who was getting a divorce, and we needed money, and then they were looking for models. And I think they did that in a daily newspaper. I think you got 250 kroner per person and 500 kroner if you were a couple. And that was a lot of money.
I was to be tied to a table, and that was damn hard. Because I knew well enough there was something called variety shows and all that, but there was nothing called porn. But I was tied to a table. And Ruth Annis was supposed to lick the genialities a bit, and I had. My hands tied down to the posts and stuff like that, and we would get 1,000 kroner for that. That's still a lot of money in 65.
And it took place down on Vesterfælledvej, and there we were supposed to, there was one photographer and another guy, and then we were supposed to come walking towards each other on the sidewalk. And then he hypnotized me with his gaze, and then I was supposed to faint from those burning eyes, and so I fainted. Then a picture was taken where I had sort of collapsed, and then I don't think he dragged me by the hair. He didn't do that. It wasn't that imaginative. He then carried me into a storage room with some sacks in a corner.
Spread your legs more.
It was honestly hard to keep a straight face, and the raw day, you know, and it was clear she had to lie over the head like this so you couldn't see it wasn't erect. Because lying on a tiled table and being handcuffed down to those sacks, that's damn well not easy.
Pornography was produced in the dead of night and traded illegally. Demand was high, and regardless of the police, customers always got wind of the forbidden magazines.
I was looking for some magazines for a friend I have abroad.
When people came into the shop to buy something, they would often come quietly sneaking along the walls, almost hesitantly. And by the time they finally reached the counter, it was always for a buddy or a neighbor. It was never for themselves, never for their own needs.
It's for a friend, you see, who doesn't dare buy it himself, so I don't mind at all. Back then in the 60s, it was easy enough to get the goods because you knew the people who printed underground, you know, illegally.
It was very unimaginative, I must say. I mean, it was like the style of a pulp novel, right?
In 69, 70, 71, I started making various magazine productions myself, which can't compare at all to the things out today. Magazines and books, and we also had 8mm films, and it almost didn't matter what you made, it went damn well, right? What can I say? It went well, and the money poured in, and you were treading in containers to have. Yes, it...
It was probably junk, right? Such old, worn-out black and white films that sometimes you could hardly see what was up and what was down and who were men and women.
Yes, they popped up with these porn cinemas located in small, cramped, and rather dingy rooms, often in the backyards and back rooms of shops. You could then put on a cinema show for members.
The law says about these private clubs that you had to sign up and then you had to wait 48 hours and then you'd have your membership card sent to you. That's how it was supposed to work in theory, but not a single soul followed that.
We knew very well that it wasn't just for members. So when the show was on, we'd go in as a group and interrupt it. We took the owners' names. They were then charged under the law, right?
I thought the police were quite overzealous, beyond what they actually needed to do, because it was all about to be legalized anyway. But they'd come in occasionally, and then they'd conduct a raid and throw out all the customers and question everyone who was there. And if it was just a film show going on, it was fine, really, because the tourists who were there, usually daytime tourists, they'd come back as soon as the police had left, right, shouting and screaming, and then they just had to buy some of those films they'd seen, right?
It wasn't just the politicians and the police fighting porn. Christians were also opponents of these sinful images.
We believe that pornography is harmful. Sexual relations between a man and a woman aren't harmful. We were created for that. But the worship of it is harmful, and we've seen that in evening schools and youth work around the place.
Do you have any examples?
Yes, we do, especially from the evening schools where we can feel that young people are sexually derailed. And you must realize that we are Christians, so we go by the Bible, and there it is, a direct sin.
When I sent brochures out to, say, Germany, right, I'd hit some priests or inner mission people or someone who was against this. They'd then send it back to the police in Denmark and so on, and then I'd get one fine after another, right, meaning fines of 2, 3, 500,000 kroner and so on and so forth. I've paid many hundreds of thousands of kroner in fines and whatnot over the years. But honestly, it didn't matter much. There was more money coming in the mail.
Finally, Minister of Justice Knud Thestrup gave up. On May 3rd, 1969, Parliament voted to allow the sale of pictorial pornography to people over 16.
In our view, the seizure of a book as obscene or a trial about a book being obscene contributes more than anything else to the distribution of that book.
It turned out that when censorship was finally lifted for written works and publications, that it was actually, perhaps surprisingly, a significant blow to pornography. And I am convinced that the same will happen with the images.
By legalizing porn, Thestrup hoped it would become uninteresting and quietly disappear. He was wrong.